Hey, my name is Pearl Foy, and this is an introductory class for you guys. Introductory class. I'm sorry if I spelt those words out. Let me give you a little bit of information about myself first. This is a haircutting class, and it's a class. You are in haircutting school. That's what this is going to be like. And one of the things that you're going to hear me say many times is I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to teach you. I've been a licensed educator for 32 years. I've worked for some of the major companies out there. I'm a hair colorist, so I targeted mostly on hair color, but I am a master razor cutter. Razor cutting is an art, and it's something that you don't just go in and do. You really have to practice. But hair cutting itself, many times you'll watch videos. And when you watch the videos are excellent. I mean, I'm not putting anybody down. What I'm trying to say is they don't tell you the why or how. You're going to learn how to hold your shears. You're going to learn how to, the hows and whys. Many times when I'm doing a cut, when we start cutting, and all our cuts, by the way, are going to be done on mannequins. I'm not going to use people. We can stop on a mannequin. We can show you the whys, pull the hair back, everything. You can do the same thing with people. But the problem is, when you go and watch a video and then you do it on someone, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to get it correct. So one of the things that we do, and I've taught my students to do, by the way, haven't mentioned that I've been doing hair for 52 years. So 32 years of teaching, 52 years of being a cosmetologist. I'm a licensed instructor. I've got my teaching certification to teach in regular high schools. I teach at a vocational school. It's been an incredible industry for me, one that I never thought. But if you've been to school and you feel like, I want to get back into doing this is going to be a great class for you. If you feel like I would just like to learn how to cut, but I want to know what I'm doing wrong, this again is going to be an absolutely great class for you. The one thing that I require, that I totally suggest, recommend, is that you diagram your haircuts. And I'm going to explain that to you in just a minute. This is meant for you to learn how to cut and the aspects about cutting. When I'm doing some of the haircuts that I'll be teaching you, and I will teach you every haircut there is to learn and the whys. When I teach it to you, it's not landing right or whatever, I will show you why it's not landing right. There's parts of the head. When you watch a video, this is what you see cut. But you never see this. You never see inside the head. Where are you? You can't move forward if you don't know where you're going. So it's essential that you understand where you are and where you're going. This isn't just for somebody that has, I've taught licensed people, and they'll come back to me, and there's nothing better for an educator than when somebody comes back to you and says, you know what, I did that again, and now I know why. And now I feel better because I'm more comfortable with it. I want to take you to the point of being way comfortable with it. So let's start out with the head form. If you don't know, hey, if you're going to take a drive, if you're in the car but you don't know what street you're on, you're going to get lost. If you watch somebody bake a cake and you love that cake and you don't write down the recipe, you're not going to be able to make that cake. It's not different with hair cutting. There's 3 things to hair cutting, and I'm going to be repeating this later on. The first thing is how you section off the hair. Where are you to section it? The next thing is how you elevate it. In other words, how you hold it. But the most important thing about hair cutting is the angle that you choose to cut it, so when it lays back down, it's going to do what you want. This is going to teach you all of that. And we're going to go over it and over it and over it. But again, my recommendation to you is that you learn how to diagram. So I'm going to teach you a few factors about diagramming. If you have any questions, please put them down. I will be looking at them. I will answer them for you. But I love teaching. I love doing hair. It's an incredible industry. So let's get on with it, all right? So this is hair cutting A to Z, and it is A to Z. Every haircut you could possibly learn. And yes, we are going to be doing men's hair cutting, clipper hair cutting. Those will be the last videos that we do because we go from from long to short. We're going to move up in the world. All right? So let's look at the head form first. You see this head form. I want you to look at this shape right here. How do you diagram? How can you take the instructions for a haircut and write them down? You have to draw something first. Because if you write them down, it's just in your brain, but then you forget what you saw. So you have to learn how to diagram. I want you to notice this. See this right here? See how it comes up? See how it comes down? What does that remind you of? Just kind of think about what that might remind you of. I'm going to show you. It reminds you of a question mark. That's the same thing. It's a question mark. I hope that's dark enough to see. If not, then I'm going to get my darker marker. Can you see it all right, cameraman? Okay, let me make it darker. And I'll be talking to my cameraman every once in a while. We didn't do that at first, but we've decided, you know what, we're not here to impress, we're here to teach. There it is. Is that better? Okay, good. So I'm going to be using this marker instead of the little fancy small one. All right, so there's your head form. What does it look like? Looks like a question mark, doesn't it? Okay, now do you know what the number 1 looks like? Okay, 1. And then we have a number 2. There's your head form. There is this. 1, 2. It's the same thing, but it's the beginning of understanding and your roadmap for the head itself to know where you're at and know where you're going. Let me move further with this. And these are the terms I'm going to be using when I cut. When we do all the different haircuts that we're going to be talking about, like I said, we're going to do every single haircut you could possibly see or know. And explain the whys. Explain the areas of possible concern with them and what could happen when we make that choice. We're going to talk about everything. I teach for results. I don't teach to be fancy. All right? So I want you to get this. It's very important to me that you get this, that you understand it, that you use it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover right here. This is called the parietal line. And if you think about it, if you forget what it's called and you think, oh, what did she say that was? Or where is the parietal line that she's talking about? See the pair of eyes? You've got parietal on each side. That is the center of the curve of the head. Some people, when they teach this class, they call it the curve of the head. Some schools call it the rim. If I tell you to take, let's say we start doing clipper cutting, and I'll say take it up to the parietal line, and you don't know where the parietal line is at. But if you know exactly where the parietal line is at, it's at the center of the curve of the head, right here, center of the curve. All right. Within the parietal line, we have an upper ridge and a lower ridge. You have to know, and all of you can start practicing this right now. Look for the lower ridge on men's haircuts. They're all getting it real tight right now, and one way, pardon me again, I got to grab a comb. Oh, here's one. All right, the lower ridge. I'm going to put this in front of me for you to see it. See where the comb leaves the head? That's where the lower ridge is at. Same thing in the back. If you hold that comb straight up, right at the center, that's called the center occipital, by the way, that's where the lower ridge is at. So look at men's haircuts now, practice this, and you and I will be speaking the same language. So when I tell you, when I do start the clipper cutting, and I tell you I'm going to take it to the lower ridge, so it's going to fascinate you right now. Look at go back and look at clipper cuts, and see how many of them take it exactly to the lower ridge, and they're going to say, you bring it up to here, or you take it up this high. You're not speaking the same language. But if you know for a fact that the lower ridge is where the comb leaves the head, we're both speaking the same language, I can tell you to do that, I can walk away, and I know you're going to put it there because you know where the lower ridge is at. Okay, the upper ridge, if you know where the parietal line is, again, the pair of eyes, the parietal line is judged in this form. I'm putting this in front of me, making it craziness. See that? See this right here? That's your parietal line coming down in there. So now we have exacts. We have exact spots that we're speaking of on any head form. I can do it on this mannequin right here. I'm going to try and do it so you can see it. There's her parietal line, and it will go all the way around. It's the same thing, whether you do it in the front or the back. The point is, the comb is held straight up, that's held straight out. This little V right there, straight down, that's the parietal line. So it goes all the way around. All right, I mean, you would normally do it on the sides, but I'm not going to be turning that mannequin around. Not at this point, we've got to move forward. We're going to be doing it enough times, you're going to get it. So there's the lower ridge and the upper ridge. You've got the parietal line. Years ago, this used to be called the horseshoe. And you can see that it travels around, and if you hold it upside down, this would be shaped almost exactly like a horseshoe. So we have the parietal line, upper ridge and lower ridge. This area here is called the temporal area. That's what people are going to call it when they teach you cutting. They're going to call that the temporal area. We don't. Like I said, I teach for results. What is the reality about that part right there? Can anybody think of any reality that could be besides being the frontal area? The one thing I want you to look at, is it flat? Yes, it's a flat part of the head. Put it on your own head, right here. It's flat. It's not round. It's very flat until it starts curving above the lower ridge up into the parietal line. Why are we so specific about this? Because hair cutting is specific. Let me ask you something. Did you know that your appendix is about 4 inches just to the right of your navel? If your doctor didn't know exactly where your appendix was, and your appendix was about to burst, and you're having emergency surgery, and he's thinking, okay, where is it? He knows where it's at. Know where you're at to know where you're going, to know what you need to do. All right? So this is flat. This area is flat. So we call it the flat part of the head. Part of the head. Just write that down on your paper once you've done this. I will have these set up for you next time when we review this, but right now we're just going to keep moving forward. But I'm trying to show you certain aspects, certain ways that you're going to get this stuff. All right, so that's the flat part of the head. Always put the ear. The ear is a point of measure. And it's very, very important that you know where the earlobe is, the inner earlobe. Those are all points of measure. So when you're cutting and you want to get both sides the same, especially with the sideburns, you're not turning them back and forth. You've got places there that you can look at to take care of those sideburns, that you can take care of the really short hair with women, and it's going to be even. Yes, at times we've heard one ear is slightly higher than the other. Look at them in the mirror. Don't guess at it. Look at it. All right. So we've got parietal line, upper ridge, lower ridge. Just this area here, this is called the nape. Nape, N-A-P-E. Now, within the nape, there's another small area right here, and we just call that behind the ear. Almost misspelled it there. Do you have any idea why that would be an important area? And it is extremely, extremely important with men's hair cutting, women's hair cutting, just about anything that you do. How do you find, first let's go, how do you find the nape? The nape is real easy to find when you're doing a haircut. And when we get into real shorter cuts, you're going to be cutting only at the nape line. When I teach this to my students, we call that area the happy face. But see that nape line? Does that look like a smile? Yeah. Okay, how do you find it though? And I'm going to show you. Take your index finger, elevate your elbow, place your index finger right at the top of your ear. Right there. Place your index finger right here. Now you're going to see that no matter what, I'm not moving it, it is following that same line. It's going to do the same thing on your head. So you're going to take your index finger. You're not going to press hard. You're just going to press gently. You're not going to direct it either. You're just going to let it flow by itself, and it will go back automatically, and it will end up right at the center of your knowledge bone. It does it every time. It's a natural movement. All right? That is the nape area. The nape area for older gentlemen, many of them like a taper cut, and taper cuts are coming back. These fades, these really short looks, are very popular right now, but trust me, the tapered, faded, lower at the bottom is going to be coming back. It's going to come back hard and strong for guys. So know where that's at. Now again, I'm asking you, why is this area here behind the ear so important? You may not know this because most of us are working with people with longer hair. But start looking again at these guys. They're going to think you're looking at them. So, be careful about it. You don't want your husband getting upset because you're looking at the back of a man's neck or whatever. But look at your husband's neck. Look at your cousin's neck. All of these guys that have really short hair. What you're going to notice back here is there's going to be a direction of growth. And those are factors that affect many, many haircuts. The direction of growth is either to the center or to the side. On some people, one side goes to the center, one side goes to the side. So when you're trying to determine a really close haircut and they're wanting it to lay a certain way, it's not you, it's them and the way their hair grows. And you need to advise them about that. Some people want miracles. You can't create a miracle when the hair is growing real close. And honestly, I've actually seen some hair grow straight up and then over. So when you're doing that straight line haircut down here and you blow dry it and they leave, they look great. But when they go home and blow dry it, if this is growing up and this is growing down, this area is going to pop up with it. Hair has straight. Hair will do that. So that's why these two areas behind the ear, that's all within the nape, are so important. A lot of guys, when you do the shorter cuts, they want it squared off, but one side grows up, one side grows down, or both grow up, and if they want it squared off, it's not going to fit. That needs to be almost a rounded neckline. So do you see when I'm teaching you stuff, I'm telling you stuff, I'm giving you facts about stuff. Not here to impress you, I'm here to teach you. I'm here to hope that you get this. I'm here to that. For those of you that have been to beauty school and for whatever reason didn't do this, but you're still interested in cutting hair, this is going to teach you far beyond anything that you've learned in the past. Everyone has their verbiage. Everyone has their words. I have a lot of detail. I'm a very detailed person when it comes to hair cutting. Okay, so let's move forward. So this is the crown. And again, the crown is a little bit flat. The crown, if you put your hand, the palm of your hand on it, you're going to find that it's flat. It's not round like this mannequin is. It will fit flat on the palm of your hand. The thing about the crown, there's a little area here, little line just above the parietal line, very center of the back. I'm going to do another head form. I'm trying to see if, I think I'll just go ahead and do it here. And this one is going to be showing the back. Okay? And there's her ears, or his ears, and there's a nape line, parietal line, flat part, upper, lower, and vertex. The vertex is the very center back. Remember the area behind the ear? If you know exactly where that ends, which ends up being about 1.5 inches going in on each side, it will actually center that pretty much. You know where the vertex is at, that's the other center part. And if you're wrapping a perm and you're not exactly sure, to make sure to get it down the center, that's the exact spot. Now, here's the other factor. All right, so we're here, right? Come up to the vertex. Upper ridge, all the way down. What haircut does that give you? The mohawk. Many times in the salon, the stylist would just send these mohawk requests over to me because I didn't have to measure. I would just do it. Otherwise, they'd be standing there forever in front of the mirror trying to get one side even with the other because they had no idea where the upper ridge was at. So the upper ridge helps you get to that point, and it blends with the vertex. So do you see the extreme areas of knowing this before you mess with this? And again, diagramming is so important. Every haircut that I teach you, I'm going to diagram it before we do it, and we're going to talk about it. So it's not just going to be coming in and cutting and not talking about it. This is school. This is hair cutting school for you. So we know that that is what the vertex does, and we know that that will make it straight. This is the upper ridge. You see that angle right there? There's your mohawk right there, down the center. Somebody wants that? You got it. So, all right, so it has everything to do with know where you're at, know where you're going. All right, so I'm going to erase this because I don't want it to be a deterrent to what I'm trying to teach you here. I hope everything doesn't fall down. It has happened in the past, so just remember we do our best. Okay, so, and I always keep a towel when I have clients or whatever. It really helps. Okay, so this is the occipital area. occipital. Occipital. Oh, I-A-L. That's just the back of the head. This is where the most amount of hair is at. Forgot to tell you something about the vertex. Just remember, when I was thinking about this massive amount of hair, you know exactly where the vertex is at. That is where the cowlicks are on top of the head. Some people have two on each side of the vertex. Normally, I'd say 90% of the people have one, only on one side where the hair is kind of swirling around. Some people, it appears that it's more in the center. These are variables in hair cutting and what you're going to do, especially with women's short hair. And there's ways that you can take care of it so that you can redirect the hair, and I'm going to teach you those ways. But again, keep in mind, we're doing longer hair first, shorter, and going up shorter as we go. So that's the occipital area. That's where the most amount of hair is at. We have the crown. We have the vertex within the crown. As we go up, this area here, just above the upper ridge, all around, is called the apex. Models would put their head, this is the highest part of the head. Models would put books on top of their head and try and walk real straight or whatever, and that's how they stay real straight and keep their head real straight. It's on the apex. And that's actually slightly rounded, so it's quite a test when they do that. So the apex is the highest portion of the head. When you're doing a flat top, believe it or not, if you think about a flat top and it's all the same length, where's the shortest part? At the apex. That's where it's going to be. So if I were to do a haircut and bring it all straight up and straighten that form as a flat top, that's going to be the shortest point. Maybe you didn't recognize that before. But those are some of the things that we're going to talk about. And we're going to cover as we do it. We're not just going to cut. We're going to show you how it falls. We're going to show you, the things that you need to do to possibly common errors that happen in hair cutting. Okay, so we have the apex. Upper ridge, lower ridge, occipital, behind the ear, the nape. You have a little portion, that little ball right here on your ear, that little nodule, you see it right there, just that little thing that kind of comes out a little bit. Now she doesn't have it too much, but she's got it right there. That's called the tragus. The tragus is a point of measure. I want to tell you something about the tragus. If you take your 2 index fingers and you place them just slightly above the tragus, I guess would be about the temporal area right there. Okay, so you take your 2 fingers, press gently, and come down. And I want you to feel how calm that makes you feel. Circular motions, come back up, gently press, not too hard, and then stroke it back down. And do it again. You'll be able to feel your ear, you'll be able to feel your jawline, but you see how relaxing that is. I always have a concern. The tragus is a big-time center point for the nerves that go back behind the ear and the nerves that come along the face. So when we put an earring or something, you hear about nerve endings on the ear, that's one of the most important areas. don't pierce your tragus. I recommend that you do not do that. Those nerve endings are going to affect your facial structure. Eventually you're going to feel some tingling if you haven't already. So it's best not to do that. So, keep that in mind. You want to put a fake earring there, that's fine. But if you can see how that just works on you, you can actually feel it over your whole body, relaxing it. So why would you want to pierce it and damage that? Okay, so just a little FYI for you. Okay, so the apex, and then along the front, and I'm going to show this on the mannequin instead of drawing another face. See this area here looks like a triangle? How many of you cut bangs? If you're cutting the bangs and bringing it rectangular, that's why you have those little pieces on the sides driving you nuts, not growing, and you have to wait for it to grow, and they keep flipping out. You have to pie shape it. This is a rounded head. Round surfaces, in order to create a straight line away from it, you have to shape it out diagonally, especially to where you're close to, the next one would be your perimeter line. So this is the frontal fringe or bang area, and how you hold it. You're going to learn different ways. We have a whole class on different bang trims that you're going to learn how to do them so that they fit. But the biggest factor, and again, along the facial shape, sometimes you will see some cowlicks. So some things you can control, some things you cannot. But to do the Dora bangs, there's certain ways to do it. To do it, just a fringe bang, all of that. There's certain ways, and I'll tell you the whys and why nots. So you always pie shape it. You do not take it rectangular across. You pie shape it. This hair just behind it stays long, and believe me, shorter moves longer. You'll hear it. The shorter hair will keep that longer hair back, surprisingly enough. So that's the frontal fringe or bang. Okay, and I just mentioned the perimeter line. The perimeter line is recognized as your hairline. So if I tell you we're going to take it towards the perimeter line and we're going to cut it vertically, am I going to tell you to, does that mean to take the hair forward or to take the hair back? Yeah, take the hair forward. We're taking it towards the perimeter line, cutting it vertically. That's how I'm going to teach you the classes. So it's important that you learn this. It's important that you get the terms because they're professional terms. Isn't it better when you're talking to your client that as you speak in these terms, they kind of respect you a little bit more if you have to speak to them about it? But you don't have to. Those are like medical terms. The doctor doesn't come up and say, well, we're going to do surgery on you, and I'll have to cut you here and cut you there. No, he says incisions. He uses professional terms. 3 or 4 incisions, whatever. But he's not going to say, yeah, I'm going to get the knife and cut you. That's not the terms that a doctor uses. As a cosmetologist, as a true professional, you require a license for this industry. Those of you that are just learning to get this is school. This is how I teach my students. 100% of my students can all do a perfect flat top when they're done. I would love to take some of you that have always wanted to learn how to cut, but have not been able to learn to cut properly. And if possible, go to beauty school. It is an incredible industry. Incredible industry. Never thought. Who else does something for 52 years and still loves what they do? I love what I do. I love teaching this. I love watching people grow. So, all of this right here, that's called the interior. This is the interior. This is where your hair is at. All your hair is inside. So let's go over it real quick. I want you to get this. Every haircut that we do, I will be diagramming. I'm going to show you just a real quick diagram here on the first haircut. The first haircut's going to be 0. I don't know if you can see this diagram or not. I hope that you can. But you can see that we have the face. Everything is going to be straight down. It's going to be cut. It's going to be sectioned. And it's going to be sectioned in a way so that you understand. And we're going to be talking about everything that we do with it. But I want you to learn to write it down. Learn to get that delicious cake that you loved. Learn to get the recipe. Get it correct. So like that, when you do it after a while, you'll learn it. You'll know it. But there's variables on even cutting the straight across haircut. So let's review this a little bit. So question mark, 1, 2, Parietal line?